Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of Gone Solo GOZR. I am your host and storyteller, Royce Rosewood. In our last episode, we created some characters, and we got a lot of information on both of our characters, including a lot of detailed information about their appearance. So I decided to come up with some images for each of them. So we'll go ahead and bring those up so we can see. Xamxes, our brawler, who has the gold skin and the teal hair and the gray eyes. And we've got Camm, the wizard, who's got eggshell skin, no hair, but if they did have hair, it would be maroon, and umber eyes. And then, of course, the ear shapes on both of those. I thought it would be fun just to draw those up. And then one of the decisions that I made about Camm, as a wizard, Camm is supposed to have a mark, something that marks them as a wizard and sort of makes them a little bit unsettling to the other people, the other GOZRs. So I decided to take their third eye and make that a literal third eye, and since it was on their head, I made that mark. So where are we at? So we came up with some threads and some characters, and I came up with some more in the meantime. So to get started, our starting threads on our Mythic tables. For our Mythic Game Master emulator, this is how you keep track of threads and characters, and then they come up during various rolls, and that's how we weave things back in together and keep track of things. So our threads, we've got an endless sandstorm bombards the city. Okay, we got that from our recent events of some gravity table. And then we also have Storm Faces Search for Lost Relic. I split those into two, just so each aspect of those could come in different ways. All right, our other thread is Xamxes is searching for a common enemy to maintain the peace between the factions that they've brokered. And then our final thread is Camm wants to destroy a wizard. And I have some ideas about that, and we'll explore that a little bit. Great. And then our characters that we are expecting to encounter. As part of being a wizard, Camm has a watcher, and we rolled up a peppy child watcher. And so this is sort of a mysterious child that shows up and watches them and is reporting back to some entity about how Camm is using care magic. And then we've got Basingstoke, the prudish rat, which is Camm's familiar that I rolled up. The name is new. I think we rolled up the familiar in the last video, but I gave the rat a name, Basingstoke. All right, I've got two characters, sort of placeholder. I've got a green faction and a pink faction. These represent the factions that Xamxes has brokered the peace between. I don't have any specific details about that. I'm sort of leaving that until we need it. Suffice to say, right now they're different. I just gave them colors that don't really mean anything. They're just placeholders. And then finally, we've got a wizard because Camm has this vendetta against this wizard, which we will explore. So there is that. So we are going to get started. We are going to jump in. So let's go. All right, so one of the great things about GOZR is it's got a whole bunch of tables, and there's some daily tables. So to start us off, I'm going to roll up on the weather table just to see what kind of weather we're having today. All right, 5 on the weather. It's either cold or hot. Well, which one is it? 1 is cold, 2 is hot. 1 is cold. Okay, great. That's good because Camm has a weakness against heat. What is it? Heat and fire. So that would be bad. I've got to roll up our sky color. What color is the sky today? 14. The sky is blue today. Okay, so it's normal. And then what is the angry sun's mood today? These are all very important things to know. 38, just shining. Okay, so it's a normal day. It's a little cold in GOZR City. And that is where we're starting off. So for our first scene, I want to set it up where Xamxes has just finished brokering this peace between these two factions. Let's see. And I've got our map. Let's see if I can pull this up here. You can't really see the whole thing, but in the book, there's described as two boulevards that intersect. It's sort of a bridge that goes over the river. So which quarter are we in? 1, 2. Okay, so we're in this northeast quarter. And there's just so many tables, and I just want to use them all. Roll up some street names. All right, 64 is oink. 2 is, okay, lane. So we're on oink lane. And tell us about the structure that we're in. 45, we're in an open air structure on oink lane. Okay, so we've got this open air plaza on oink lane. You know what? I do want to know about these factions. So I'm going to roll on the backgrounds table. Is this green faction 22? They are metal workers. Okay. And the pink faction 52 are food makers. So we'll say the dispute had to do with, territory and use of buildings. Our understanding is that GOZR City is an ancient city that, 1,000 years ago, there was this collapse where the pretty ones fell and the goose survived. There's all these ruined buildings, and we learn from the book that most of the city is uninhabited. And so it makes sense to me that, factions trying to take control of the useful buildings, the ones that are still crumbling. Xamxes has settled this dispute, and Camm is going to be approaching them. And so in Mythic, before we start a scene, we roll on our chaos die. We roll a 10-sided die. And if we roll under the chaos factor, which is a number that goes up and down throughout the campaign, then something different happens. And right now we start at 5 for the chaos factor. So let's see, 6. So nothing unusual interacts with the scene. It's great. It's a great way to start off. We open. It is sort of a colder day in GOZR City. We know that there's been sandstorms sort of plaguing the city, so maybe there are sort of piles of dunes in the midst of this open plaza. There are a large number of goos, which are these deformed, weird-looking goblin creatures in a variety of colors and a variety of shapes. One faction, with a bunch of tools on one side, and another faction with like aprons and baking equipment or knives or whatever on this other side. And Xamxes are one of our heroes in between, who has finally brokered this peace between them, and speaks before all of them and says, "Very good. Now we have reached our agreement about who shall use which buildings and for what. You should all celebrate this momentous achievement in this part of the city. Everyone celebrate and cheer." And so the fact, yeah. Great. And they celebrate and they party in their goose way, which is probably wild. And, there's a lot of banging and, probably drinking and fighting and, playful fighting now. No, acceptable fighting, not peace in the general sense, yeah. But even now, as the factions, shake hands or whatever their goose ritual is, Xamxes is noticing that, or suspects that this peace may not last long, and thinks that if there was some sort of common enemy to bring them together, that they could face together, that would make this peace last longer. And then out of the crowd, sort of coming through the crowd, Xamxes sees this eggshell-skinned, triangle-eared, 3-eyed wizard. That's because with the mark, yes, you can tell who's a wizard and who's not. And they're wearing these fancy shoes and this fancy skirt. They look a little rough and tumble, but their clothes look really nice. or I should say care clothes. Looked really nice. So there's sort of a strange aura about Camm. There's a rat on Care's shoulder. And Xamxes is not sure what to think of this. And so we know, of course, as the audience, this is Camm, who steps up and says,
Excellent work, Xamxes. You have done a great favor for this quarter of GOZR City. If you will, I would speak to you, for I require assistance.
And Xamxes says, well, all right, let us go into what? Something nearby. We'll say they go up. We have some vertical mobility. We'll roll on our vertical mobility table. We've got a 10. There's a ramp. So there's a ramp up from this plaza that goes up onto another structure, which is a what? 66, an arcane structure. There's sort of an arch or a dome. It's still open air. It's still sort of like part of the plaza structure. There's all these sigils that have been painted sort of hastily, and there's melted candles, and this is a place where wizards may come to do their rituals or spells. There's maybe like a sort of a decrepit, wooden bench. Maybe it's sort of charred, and they sit. And so Xamxes says, "All right, tell me, what is this about?" Does Xamxes recognize Camm? Is Xamxes aware of who this other Goose is? We're going to roll on our fate chart. So in Mythic, anytime we don't know something, we get to roll on this fate chart. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, but really it's just telling us the probabilities of things. We get to decide how likely we think something is, and then based on our chaos factor, we have to roll under a certain number. So I have no idea whether they know each other. So it's going to be a 50-50. So let's see. So that's a 60. No. So Xamxes doesn't know who Camm is. So Camm says,
My name is Camm. As you may have suspected from my mark, I am a wizard. For many years I have been a street preacher here in GOZR City. I have a spell that can turn my body into bread, and so I help the poor and destitute, of which I count myself among, to feed them and nurture them against the ravages of poverty and sickness. Recently, I have come into a large amount of money. I have bought my own fancy clothes, and now I am ready to do what must have been done a long time ago. We must seek revenge against an evil wizard, a wizard who has persecuted and tortured and generally been a nuisance to the poor and destitute of GOZR City.
we need to know the name of this wizard. We got to roll on our name chart. So first we roll on which chart are we going to use? We're going to use the 5 chart. We roll 2. All right, let's go blue, orange. 1, 3. This is Liza. Liza the wizard. Has Xamxes heard of this Liza, or is aware of who this Liza might be? We're going to roll on our fate chart. 79. No. I have not heard of this wizard Liza. And I assume that the reason for that is that Camm is sort of from a different quarter in this, what is this, southeast quarter here. So, and that, since we know that GOZR City is about half populated. We'll say that this is the eastern side is the populated half, and the western side of GOZR City is sort of the more abandoned, wilds, infested with monsters half.
Well, that is all very well and good, Camm. But why have you come to me?
And Camm says,
I have heard of your exploits and success up here in this quarter. And if I were to prepare this operation in my quarter, Liza would most certainly become aware of it. But you, Xamxes, you are successful. You have many resources and goods at your disposal. And when we operate from here, Liza will not suspect what we are doing. What do you say? Will you help me rid GOZR City of the blight that is Liza the Wizard, who has tormented the poor unfortunate goose for too long?
and Xamxes is thinking, and Xamxes' gears are turning, and we know that they are looking for a common enemy to unite the factions against. And this might just be the one. So, Xamxes, of course, because we are putting this adventure together, Xamxes agrees. And here we have the start of our adventure, where these two characters have met. And we are going to try to take down Liza, the evil wizard. Great. So we are going to call that a scene. I would say that those characters were fairly in control of that scene. And in that case, our chaos drops. So now our chaos number is at 4. What are we going to do for this next scene? Well, I think they need to go someplace and sort of come up with a plan. And of course, we need excuses to roll on more of these lovely tables. So they can either go, they can either go to Ennui Avenue, or they can go to Avant Boulevard. Avant Boulevard is going to be sort of more on the wilder side, but Ennui Avenue is going to get us closer to Liza. So maybe they're going to go towards Avant Boulevard. And just all this map stuff is just for me. It's just for fun. It's nothing in the rules that you have to make the map this way. It's just, I thought it would be funny to do it this way. All right. So what is the street that they take? 14 Sandy Way. They get to Avant Boulevard, and we have a very special Avant table. Okay, 24. There's a library. How fun. We do love our libraries. And tell us about the state of this library. 51 reliefs. Okay, so there's sort of carved reliefs along the library at the corner of Sandy Way and Avant Boulevard. So the plan is they're going to head there, they're going to have their meeting, they're going to make a plan, and that's what's going to happen. So we're going to roll, that's our new scene, so we're going to roll on our chaos die. 4. Yes, we have rolled within our chaos factor, and that means we roll an interrupt scene, because that is an even number. So in Mythic, there's always a chance that the scene that you create is not the scene that happens, and something else happens instead. So we need to roll on our random event table, which looks like this. Ooh. So this will inspire. Our characters had this intention to go do this one thing, to go have this meeting at this library. And instead, something else is going to happen. So we rolled a 59, which in our table means we're going to move away from a thread. And in Mythic terms, that means one of our threads is going to get more complicated or harder to solve. So we roll on our thread table, and we're going to see what we get here. All right, we rolled a 7. All right, and that says destroy Liza. Well, I'm not exactly sure. I have some ideas for what this might be, but I'm not really sure. So I'm going to roll on one of our inspirational tables in our Mythic guide here. So Mythic has a number of tables that look like this. Ooh. Just a bunch of words that help us inspire what is going to happen. So let's roll on this action table. Okay, that's 70. Protect. 70 again. Personal. Protect personal. So like that to me means like a bodyguard. And so maybe Liza has bodyguards and sort of spies and agents all throughout the city. Or maybe, because they were in the arcane area, maybe there's some sort of magic spell, or Liza has some sort of presence there, and was able to overhear and was able to direct the minions. We need pronouns for Liza because I keep talking about them. I'm just going to decree that is a she, her. All right, we have some tables here. We have this table for these Goose Bravos, these sort of fighters. Our scene, Camm and Xamxes are heading down Sandy Way, which is maybe named because of all the sand that's coming in through the sandstorms. A bunch of like dunes that just happens to collect along this one particular path. And they're heading down towards Avant Boulevard. There's, buildings along the way in sort of various states of repair. Some nice, some totally collapsed, and, Goose coming in and out, doing their thing. They are intercepted and surrounded by a pack of these Goose Bravos. So, how many are there? There are 2. So maybe one steps out in front and one steps from behind. What weapons are they holding? They are holding spears. Our characters are intercepted. They're surrounded, one on each side by these Bravos. And one of them says,
Liza has ears in many places, and you would do wise not to threaten her, or her power, or her authority.
And Camm is sort of like already like, ugh.
No, I came to a whole different part of the city to avoid something specifically like this.
Are the Bravos just threatening, or are they like gonna really try to? Well, there's only 2 of them, so it seems likely to me that this is just sort of like a threatening situation. I'm gonna say it's very likely that they're just here to threaten. They're not really looking for a fight. Yes. Okay. Yeah, they're just looking to threaten. So if they're gonna accelerate, that's gonna be on the side of the player characters. Camm, we're gonna do our first roll of the game. Camm is gonna try to cast the vulgar spell Doubt on the Bravo who has just spoken. So we spend 1 whiz. So it takes 7 down to 6. And then we roll on a 20-sided die. And we're trying to roll over the magic score of 8. Oh, no. Okay. So we've rolled 1 under 8. Oh, no. Which means that is a graze. That's a miss with a benefit. So what Camm is trying to do is cause these Bravos to doubt what they've just said, doubt Liza's power and perhaps their loyalty to her.
Are you sure about that?
He's doing sort of a Jedi mind trick wave.
Are you sure about Liza?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so the benefit is the Bravos sort of laugh.
Oh, Liza doesn't have to worry about these fools. Wizard can't even cast a basic spell. Well, you've been threatened, but watch your back. Liza has eyes and ears everywhere.
And and so they go off laughing, thinking that these two are no threat at all. Camm turns to Xamxes and says,
Sorry you had to see that. That was very unfortunate.
And Xamxes is like a little worried at this point. It's like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? This is just like going to be a total bungling affair. Great. Okay. So now we know that Liza has eyes and ears everywhere and is aware of their plot, but is maybe, according to their her minions, is not really a true threat. So they're going to keep heading on towards the library. So were they in control of that scene? No, they did not succeed. So we're just going to call that a, so we're just going to increase our chaos factor back up to 5. Okay, so still heading to that library. So we got to roll for our new scene. Roll. Okay, we've rolled over. So the scene proceeds as we expect. So they get to this library, and we know that it's carved with all these relief carvings around. So this is maybe like a Pretty Ones building that survived and is now being used as a library. They've come here probably because it's like out of the way. Maybe Xamxes knows like a little hidden area that's sort of off to the side. They go and they sit down, and they're going to come up with their plan. So what is the plan? I'm just going to roll on our action table. 32 deposit. 65 outside. Deposit outside. Deposit something outside. So they're going to maybe plant something valuable, something that Liza wants outside the city to try to draw her out. And there they will have more of an advantage. All right. I'm going to roll twice on this objects table. 12. A complicated. 69. Something official and complicated. Well, complicated makes me think of a machine. What does that mean in the context of GOZR? I mean, we know that there's like enforcers in the city. So there's some sort of like vague government. Is Xamxes as a peacekeeper sort of associated with the enforcers? Let's see. I don't know, 50-50. Yeah. So maybe that's sort of the plan. There's some sort of machine that the enforcers use as officials, right? Some sort of like, craft, or I'm imagining it has sort of legs. I don't know why. It's like a spider and like can kind of crawl through the streets. Sort of the equivalent of like, what would be a police car, but it's like a weird robot spider sort of thing. Liza wants one of these to use for herself, sort of she's sort of gathering power and gathering resources. So Camm says,
Oh, I thought you, as an official with ties to the enforcers, might be able to get one of these spider crafts, and we'll take it out in the outskirts of the city, and this will draw Liza out. Because she wants one. And there, outside of the city, there will be an ambush, and we can, draw a large crowd and surprise her and take her down.
And Xamxes says, okay, yes, I can see how this might work. And this will be a good test of the peace that we have forged with these factions. We'll get them working together, working on this common project. Yes, so yes, we can do this. This is an excellent plan with no flaws that I see. And this is what we will do going forward. Excellent, Camm. I will go talk to my people, and we will make this happen.
Great. All right. And for that, we will call it there. So thanks so much for watching this first episode. We're setting things up. We're putting things in motion. We've got a lot of other things kind of lurking in the distance that is going to come in and impact what's going on. But for now, we've got this plan. We're going to try to tempt this wizard with an official enforcer spider craft out in the outskirts of the city. And we're going to go from there. So thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps me know who's watching and how many people are watching, so I can keep making these videos week to week. Thank you so much. So this is Science Fantasy Awesome, and you're awesome.